Okay, well, if there's nothing I can do about it, do I want to keep worrying about it? Welcome to The Pursuit. I'm your host, Ben Spangle. I'm excited to have you here today. At our show, we're all about helping you in the pursuit of your best body, mind, spirit, and life. Thanks for being here. Today, I want to talk to you about the impact of negative thinking. More importantly, what can you do when you start thinking negatively? You know, it ranges, of course, but we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 to 70,000 different thoughts a day. And most thoughts are thoughts that people thought the day before, and the majority of those thoughts are negative. The brain has been primarily hardwired to focus on the negative. So here we are as a society thinking all these thoughts, and most of them being negative thoughts. And if you believe to any degree that somehow your thoughts have an impact on your reality, it makes a lot of sense that you and I would want to learn, how can we shift from negative thinking to positive thinking? How do we get us some of those toxic thought patterns, those toxic trances, and move into more empowered ones? You know, I know for a large part of my life, especially when I was younger, I was plagued with negative thinking. Always worst case scenario outcomes, thinking about that, thinking about possibilities, not in the way that I wanted to, but again, these scenarios that I didn't want, reflecting on things that went wrong in the day. And, you know, I struggled with this for a while. And then I got into personal development, and they said, be positive and have affirmations. And so I would do those things, and I'd work on that stuff. And I did become more positive for sure. Yet they still weren't necessarily some of the tools that I could use on a regular basis to get me out of there. And if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching it on YouTube, as many of you are, my guess is, you've used affirmations, you've tried various things and to get yourself out of that negative thinking. And I want to share with you today some concepts, some ideas on this that can help you. One thing is this concept: what you resist persists. So when you're thinking negatively and then you try and fight your mind, you get in a battle. No, it's not this way, and I'm this instead. And you're going back and forth. The voice in your head, the one, the ego, and then the true self, the you. And you're having this kind of battle in this conversation. Imagine if I came up to you and I started telling you, this is the way life is. This is how things are. This is what's going on. And I'm forcing you to think the way that I think. You're going to resist it. And you're going to put up walls and become defensive of it. Well, this is exactly what happens in our mind. It's exactly what happens in our mind. So what you resist persists. So fighting your negative thoughts is not going to be the answer. We want to learn to dance with those negative thoughts in a way that we can come at it with a more empowered response. So strategy number one to apply immediately when it comes to negative thinking. Strategy number one: if you have a negative thought and you become aware of it, once you're aware of it, is to say the word cancel. Cancel. I use this all the time throughout my day. If a negative thought is even starting, I've got so proficient at it now that even if a thought is starting, I'll say cancel, and I'll interrupt that thought pattern and I'll shift it to something else. That strategy alone can help you so much in your life. Just this one. If we didn't talk about anything else today, this one strategy, many of the most successful people I know use the exact same strategy, by the way. Cancel. The power of cancel. You cancel it, you stop the thought, and then you switch it into something more empowering. So that's a great pattern interrupt. And it takes practice to cancel those thoughts. You know, it comes in, but then you literally affirm to yourself, cancel, shift it to something else. Cancel, stop, and switch. That strategy, I got to tell you, it's super impactful. So I want you to try that out. Try that out. The next time a negative thought starts and you're aware of it, you notice it, say cancel to yourself in your head, and then shift the thought pattern. So that's strategy number one that you can apply right away into combating some of this negative thinking. Better yet, learning how to deal with negative thinking. Strategy number two. So you can use cancel as one. The second one is you can use what if. What a lot of people do, and I've been guilty of it many, many times, I'm sure you have too, is we get on a negative thought pattern and we start becoming fearful, and we start thinking of these worst case scenario outcomes or scenarios we don't really want. And we start going down the what if thought pattern. Oh my God, what if she breaks up with me or he breaks up with me? What if that deal falls through? What if I don't get the promotion? What if I don't make enough money this month? What if I get sick? What if I lose my job? What if the economy drops? What if the stock market drops? And we get in these all what ifs and start winding ourselves up with all these negative thoughts. Well, The questions are what are triggering the negative thoughts. The more you ask these what if questions toward these negative scenarios, that's what's causing you to think in a negative way. Asking questions is really the thinking process. So if we learn to ask better questions, then we can learn to overcome it. So rather than what if towards the negative, I teach a strategy called what if up. And what if up, as you can imagine, is all about rather than going down, it's going up. So you catch the negative thought, you cancel it. Maybe it's a what if. Oh man, what if the economy goes down and my business goes down? You cancel. Boom. You know what? What if things get better than ever before? What if the next person that I bring on my team ends up being the best person? The next person I hire, the next person I bring in business, what if the next client we get's our biggest client yet? What if next month I have my best month yet? What if things get better than ever before? And you start to toy with this idea. What if my health got better? What if I was able to make more money this month than ever before? What if I became happier? And you're playing with all these different what ifs. When you start to use what if up, you're asking a better quality question. You're moving towards the future that you want. You're thinking possibilities. You're not saying I am doing this, because sometimes that leads to resistance from your mind. You're saying, what if we did? What if we could? And that act of opening up those possibilities can really help. The next one is this. Sometimes you start imagining these negative scenarios and you get fearful and you get stuck in your mind and you're trapped in this negative thinking. Literally what you can do is stop and ask yourself, well, okay, well, what would be the worst case scenario in that situation? To actually ask, which may seem counterproductive, intuitive to what we're talking about right now. But if you're stuck in it, to ask, what would be the worst case scenario? Well, I guess, this would happen. This is probably what would happen. And then ask yourself, would I be okay with it? Yeah, I could handle that. I would be. Then you're able to move on. The primary fear above all fears is that you can't handle it. But if you will address it and say, well, what would be the worst case scenario? Well, I guess that would happen. Well, if that happened, could I handle it? Yeah, I could. I could deal with that. So that strategy may work for you as well. Another strategy I want to share with you, there's two more I'm going to share with you today. And this other strategy is when you're really stuck in negative thinking. Sometimes you get so in your head, and you know what I'm talking about. We get in these cycles, right? This almost like a cyclone, I should say, where it's just negative thinking, and it's swirling all around and it's going all crazy in there. And you're trying these other strategies, but you're not able to get out of it. And, I'm sure you can relate. I mean, I know I still catch myself once in a while falling into this. What I found works best for me is, if I'm really stuck in something like that, is to go and get my journal and to write out. Because usually it's worry. I'm worrying about something. So I'll get my journal. I'll write out the question. Okay, I'm feeling fearful. I'm feeling worried. What is it that I'm worried about? And then I will write out the very thing that I'm worried about. All the thoughts that are in my head, I'll take them out of my head and put them onto paper. And then in looking at them on paper, I'll ask stuff, is there anything I can do about that right now? And often it's no, there isn't. So, okay, well, if there's nothing I can do about it, do I want to keep worrying about it? Sometimes you would be surprised, and you might be scoffing at this, say, oh, well, what's that going to do? Try it. Try it out. Sometimes just getting it out of your head onto paper can make a world of difference for you. Yeah, I remember I was, struggling specifically with some business stuff. I had some people challenges in our company, and I was just worried about it. I was fretting on it. And I'm thinking, oh man, what if this happens? And what if they don't want to follow me anymore? And I had all these what if thoughts, and I just couldn't get out of it. So here I am, and if you're watching, you see where I am. But over here, I have my thinking chair. That's where I meditate. That's where I read. That's where I journal. And so I went over there. I opened up my journal, and I just, okay, I'm feeling worried. What am I worried about? And I wrote out all the things that I was worried about. I'm worried about this relationship, and I'm worried of this, and how much we're going to do this month in the business, and I just started to work through it. Is there anything I can do about that right now? And the answer at the time was no, there wasn't. I say, okay, well, am I going to keep worrying about it? No. Okay, well, what do I want to do from here? Then I was able to come up with some creative ideas because I got it out of my head, I put it on paper, and I asked better questions. So the journal has so many resources, so many ways it can help you if you use it. One more strategy I'm going to give you dealing with negative thinking. I have found that sometimes if you get yourself really worked up You're stuck in a cycle. You're having a hard time getting out of it. Sometimes what people do is they're creating this anxiety, they're creating this mental trap. And so they go for the cigarette, they go for the drink, they go for, a video game, they go for a Netflix series or something to distract ourselves. And we have all done this, and we all probably still do it. Maybe it's food, it's whatever. And I've, been guilty of all of that too. What I found sometimes is that sometimes the best medicine, if you will, if I really got myself, I'm really down, I'm feeling kind of blue and everything, and I'm just not on a positive train. I've tried these other things, haven't been able to get out of it. I'm just having a day. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've had days like this. Maybe you even had one recently. If I'm just having a day, one of my favorite strategies that works well for me is I'll go take a nap. I'll go nap for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. And, obviously I work for myself, so I have the luxury of being able to do that when I want, assuming I don't have appointments. But you might even be able to do that. Maybe it's a nap on your lunch break if you're at your job and you don't have as much control of your time. And if that is the case, I'd encourage you to find a business that you love and get into business so that you have control over your time. But either way, having a nap is a powerful strategy, because when you nap, it kind of resets it. It lets go of all that. And then once you wake up, you've lost a bit of that negative momentum. And unless you keep focusing on that, but if you decide, no, you know what? All right, I'm going to try again. Today's going to be a great day from the rest of now. I want to have an amazing day from the rest of here. I'm excited about possibilities. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited that things can get better for me. And you start thinking deliberate thoughts on a positive note rather than a negative note. Well, now you'll start to build up momentum with these positive, inspired ideas rather than these negative, cynical ideas. So that napping strategy can also be a helpful one too. So I wanted to come on today. I wanted to share with you a few quick strategies you can use to reduce negative thinking. And here's what I found is the more you practice these, the better things get. And the more you practice some of these strategies and other things we've talked about in the podcast, when you're already feeling good, the less often you fall into negative thinking. So keep trying them, keep practicing them. Hey, if you're new to the show, click subscribe. Do me a favor, subscribe. Second of all, share this episode with somebody. Let's get this out to everybody.